Welcome to this little special webinar. Rachel just did a webinar with us a couple weeks ago and immediately emailed me afterwards and said, and asked if I would be down with having her present another one. And this is the webinar that she wanted so much to present to you. I cannot wait. A couple little things, if you are not familiar with us, we're QGive. Well, I'm QGive. Rachel isn't with QGive, unfortunately. We love her. We are dedicated to helping nonprofits raise more money online, yes, because we're an online fundraising platform, but any way we can. The work that you do is so important, and we want to do anything we can to help facilitate that fundraising, which is why I'm so thrilled that Rachel is here. She'll give you a ton of different ideas and examples that you can use that will work for you regardless of how you're doing your fundraising. So that's what we do, what she does, and what I hope you get out of it. You, just for your sense of, I don't know what word I was trying to say there. We are recording this webinar. If you have to leave early, you're going to get a recording of this webinar. So don't worry about that. Rachel let me know that she does have a lot of information packed into this presentation, and if we do go over a little bit and you have to leave, don't worry. We are going to send you a recording. You won't miss anything. You'll be able to review this as you want. And I know that Rachel also uploaded the slides, so if you do have to duck out, you can download those now and revisit them if you don't want to wait for the link to the recording. I am going to turn things over to Rachel. She is going to blow your mind with a ton of awesome information and examples. Rachel, I am just going to let you go from here.
Thank you so much, Abby. I'm so thrilled to be with you guys today, and thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here. I'm excited to be with everybody. My background is in fundraising. I love helping fundraisers love their jobs and be confident, successful fundraisers and deepen their relationships with their donors. I'm a mom of twins. We are, like many of you, navigating our way through, working and having kids at home and kids doing distance learning and what that looks like. I do workshops to help fundraisers. I work with organizations. I work with nonprofit organizations. I work with boards. I do a lot of board retreats. Of course, I do everything virtually now, but I did a lot of my work virtually before. I absolutely love doing webinars. I absolutely adore it, and I love helping people confidently raise more money. And today is all about promoting your confidence as a fundraiser. We are all in this together. Bonus, dogs are loving what's going on right now. Dogs have never gotten more love, am I right? So we invited you a second ago in the chat to type in something that you're grateful for. And we also invite you to tweet us your working from home selfies. So this is something that I'm especially grateful for. This is, we adopted a dog. We adopted this dog this weekend. He's 2 years old, and it was a senior couple that was looking for a home for their dog, and we were lucky to be given this opportunity. So that's something that I'm super, super grateful for. So we just wanted to invite you. We thought we would have some fun with you today and create a sense of community. I love how QGive is actively, got photos of everybody that works for the company and their animals out there. So I invite you, if you want to share a selfie of you and your dog or cat or whatever animal that you have. So this is what we're going to be talking about today, my fundraising friends. My goal for you today is to help you fundraise bravely in these turbulent times. My goal for you is that I'm going to help you feel more comfortable and more confident in being vulnerable and opening up to your donors and deepening your donor relationships, because this really is an exceptional time for you to deepen your donor relationships. My goal for you is that you will walk away feeling excited and empowered with new ideas and new motivation around really loving on your donors and get a lot of inspiration. So we're going to be I'm taking your questions anytime today. I don't want you to be shy. just type them into the chat. And I'm sorry, not the chat. Type your questions into the questions box, and I'm going to take those at any time. So to kind of get to know you guys, I have a really quick poll that Abby is going to launch for us. So I kind of wanted to get a sense of just where everyone was at in terms of, you know, willingness to fundraise, readiness to fundraise, what kind of, if there are internal struggles where, you know, maybe development's ready to fundraise, but the board isn't, or maybe development is and the CEO isn't. So I'm going to let Abby put up this poll for us, and we'll kind of get to know where you guys are. So we've got, you know, everyone is on board that we need to fundraise safely. Only the CEO is afraid we'll upset or offend people. Staff is ready, but our board is reluctant, or someone else, not staff and not board, is discouraging fundraising. Or maybe you're in a role where you are, I doubt it, but maybe there's someone who's in a role who's like, we're doing so good with our rainy day reserves that we don't need to fundraise right now.
Right now, it looks like the overwhelming consensus is that pretty much everyone agrees that fundraising needs to continue going. But there is the next largest group, about 12% of people say that staff is ready to fundraise, but the board isn't necessarily on board. And then someone actually, a couple people have chimed in and says it seems insensitive to fundraise right now because everyone is concerned about the economy and the virus, and they're not necessarily thinking about the mission. They've gotten some mixed responses, but about around 73% think that everybody is still thinking about fundraising.
So would you say, like, is that like 73% said that everyone is on board with that we must continue to fundraise safely? Am I understanding you right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, well, that's positive. I did a similar webinar on Friday, and there were that percentage was a lot lower. So I'm glad to see that. Just with the audience that we have today, I think as time goes on, we'll see more and more people embracing the importance of fundraising throughout this. And the number one thing that I want all of you to walk away knowing today is that your donors loved you before, and your donors still love you, and your donors want you to be okay, and your donors want you to be successful. And today is really going to be a fundraising pep talk from myself and from Abby to you. We're going to talk about why you should fundraise, how you should fundraise, what we know from history, the elephant in the room, and how to acknowledge what's going on appropriately. And I'm going to give you lots of examples and lots of tools to help you connect with your donors. And of course, we've got time at the end to answer your questions. So are you creepy to fundraise right now? Let's just dig right into it. Are you creepy to fundraise right now? So I do not believe that you are creepy to fundraise right now. It would be creepy if you were to claim something like that your gifts were going to be supporting, COVID-19 related efforts, and they weren't. If you ever fundraised for something and said you were doing something and didn't do that, that would of course be unethical, and not something that is something that would be creepy, to be dishonest with your donors. But if your ability to provide services is hampered, if you're on the verge or already cutting services, if your clients are being impacted and you're raising money to support your clients and you're raising money to serve your clients, that's something that would make your mom proud. That's the kind of fundraising that would make your mom proud. And I'm going to give you a pep talk today to hopefully boost your fundraising confidence, because the truth is we need you now more than ever. And I think that our job as fundraisers just got a lot harder, but our job as fundraisers just changed in a really dramatic way that's really incredible if we dig into this, and I want you to dig into that, and that is you have an opportunity, my fundraising friends, like you have never had in your entire career, to deepen your relationships with your donors. Your donors are home. Your donors are answering their phones. And you, if you choose to, you can deepen your relationship with donors. You can move donors who you may have not had a relationship with. You have an opportunity right now to deepen those relationships. And we need you, and we need your important work. Your donors love you. That's why they gave to you. Your mission didn't stop. So your fundraising should not stop. If you stop fundraising, you're guaranteed not to raise money. But I want you to think about that. Your mission didn't stop. I don't want your fundraising to stop. But I'm going to show you how to be how to communicate with your donors during this time. In troubling times, donors give more. In troubling times like this, we as donors can feel overwhelmed, and we can feel anxious, and we can feel like we don't have a lot of control. And giving is a way for us to exercise that sense of control and do something, and not be in a position where we're feeling helpless and we're feeling like we can't do anything. But giving to something that we love gives us agency. It gives us a sense of purpose. It makes us feel, giving is the neurological equivalent of winning the lottery. It feels really, really good to give. And I was reading this, a blog post from the late, great Jerry Panas that Bloomerang had up, and he said, there's no perfect moment to raise money. Difficult times emphasize the urgency and drama of compelling needs. And what we know from prior disasters is that if we do pull back and we don't fundraise, we absolutely are guaranteed not to be successful raising money. And whether you look back on the financial crisis of 2008, I was doing a capital campaign during the financial crisis of 2008, and we split it up into two phases. We kind of postponed, we continued with our campaign, but we lengthened our campaign during that crisis. But yes, fundraising results dropped in 2008, but a lot of organizations had really good fundraising success during the recession, and those organizations were organizations that did not stop fundraising. So there is this kind of like self-defeating prophecy here, where if we stop fundraising and we don't fundraise, we will see less fundraising happen. And we don't know ultimately, was there less fundraising because donors gave less, or was there less fundraising because people didn't ask, right? If you don't ask, you're guaranteed that you won't get. But whether it is, you know, I'm from Austin, Texas, so whether it's Hurricane Harvey or it's 9/11, of course there's the bushfires in Australia. When organizations say, oh, I'm sitting this one out, I'm not doing this, I'm not going to participate in this, people pull back and they don't fundraise, and less fundraising happens overall. So your donors loved you before, and what I'm going to be guiding you through today is deepening your relationships with your donors and not being afraid to fundraise, because any fundraising you don't do is guaranteed zero revenue, and it's a lost opportunity that you can't get back. And if your clients are being impacted, if your programs are being impacted by this, your donors love you, they care about you, they want to see you be successful. You have an opportunity to talk to your donors about how this is impacting you, and you have an opportunity to let your donors help. It feels good to give. I just mentioned that giving is the neurological equivalent of winning the lottery. And we're all adults, and we're all going to make decisions based on what's right for us. I have stepped up my giving since this crisis. I just became a monthly donor for an organization last week. Don't assume, a lot of people might consume, well, I'm not going to get a lot of monthly donors now. Don't assume that donors won't support you. Don't ever make an assumption for your donor. Don't assume, well, I don't like direct mail, so they're not going to like direct mail, or I don't like telemarketing calls, so they're not going to like telemarketing calls. Your donors are adults. Let them decide for themselves. Don't assume that they won't support you. If you have a compelling need and you share it with your donors and you give them an opportunity to help you, that's really what fundraising is. Beware of self-fulfilling prophecies. If you don't ask, they're not going to give. And if you do cut fundraising, the thing that I don't want you to do right now is lay off your fundraising staff. If you cut fundraising, you're guaranteed that you're going to raise less, and it may be something that you can't recover from. So I want to encourage you guys to embrace your vulnerability. And I just want to put this out there. Maybe you're going to do an appeal, and you need to address the elephant in the room. And I'm going to spend a lot of time during this webinar talking about how to address the elephant in the room. I'm going to show you a lot of examples. I have a COVID-19 resource page up. There are so many resources right now that you can use, that you can take advantage of. But I just invite you, type in to the question box and just type in and just like, what is the worst thing that could possibly happen? What is the worst thing that is going to happen if you send out an appeal to raise money? Like, what is the worst thing that's going to happen? Okay, it may not do that well. It may not perform as well. Maybe it's not going to perform as well as the fundraising appeal that you did this time last year. Well, if you don't send it out, you know that you're not going to raise any money. If you don't send it out, you're guaranteed a zero. You're absolutely guaranteed a zero. Someone could get offended. This is something that I hear a lot of people, even before COVID-19. I was having a conversation with a client for around end of year fundraising, and they were working with the homeless population, and they had sent out a fundraising appeal with a stock photography image of a homeless person, and someone criticized them for it. And I said, and they were like, we're never going to use a photo that represents who we're serving in our fundraising appeals. And I said, wow, that's pretty strong. Was this person that complained a donor? They said, no, they weren't a donor. So yes, someone could get offended. I mean, you know, there's always a chance that we could offend someone. I send out a lot of email, and sometimes on my messages, you know, someone says, well, I don't like that. And I apologize, but my goal in life is not to offend as few people as possible. You know, and your job is not to offend as few people as possible. Your job is to serve your clients, your donors, and your cause. So yes, someone could get offended. It's absolutely possible. But your job is not to play small here. You have a big mission. You have people that are depending on you. You have clients who are depending on you. You have a big vision for how you're going to change the world and make the world a better place. And we need you in it. And we need your vision, and we need your work. And the goal isn't to offend as few people as possible. The goal is to get out there and help your clients and serve your clients. So I love Cheryl Strayed. I've read every book she's ever written. And sometimes I like to think, when I'm feeling overwhelmed or confused about something, I'd like to think, well, what would Oprah do? Or what would like any like famous celebrity do, or person I admire, or author, or, you know, business leader who I admire? What would they do? And Cheryl Strayed used to have this column called Dear Sugar, where people would write in and they would ask for advice, and then she turned it into a book called Tiny Beautiful Things. And so this is some advice from Sugar that I think speaks to all of us right now. Bravery is acknowledging your fear and doing it anyway. And to my earlier point of, there's a risk that you might send out a fundraising appeal and someone would be offended. And if you do what I'm telling you to do in this webinar, that's very, very, very unlikely. You need to acknowledge the elephant in the room, which is this virus, and we're going to talk about that. But this isn't the moment to wilt into the underbrush of your insecurities. This isn't the time for you to hide and not do anything. If your clients are being impacted, if your services are being impacted, and if your donors can help, you should give them the opportunity to do that. So be brave, show that you deeply care about your donors, and ask. And I'm going to go through lots of examples today of how to do this, but I kind of want to frame our fears in a little bit of context first. Do you guys remember the ice bucket challenge? You know, think about if the ice bucket challenge had been discussed as an idea potentially with your organization at one of your board meetings. Think about, honestly, like, type into the questions box if you think that your board would have totally supported it. I mean, now we all wish that had been our idea. Of course, the truth of the matter is that whole idea originated completely outside of the organization that happened outside of ALS. But, you know, if that idea had come in a board meeting, there might have been a lot of objections that board members might have given, you know, a lot of objections like, hey, this is off message, or shouldn't we wait and do this later when we have our peer-to-peer fundraising tools implemented, or, you know, share this. Why would people share this? Why would people do this? Or even the ultimate, hey, our constituents can't use their hands. This seems completely insensitive. That would have been like throwing a lot of cold water on an idea with a lot of innovation. And I'm sharing this from Mark Pittman, who I know Abby also adores, you know, Mark with the bow tie. And I saw this about a week ago on, I think it was the Nonprofit Storytelling Conference. I think he posted it there. I'm in a lot of different fundraising Facebook groups. And he said, if your board is telling you now is not the right time to ask, thank them, then ask. Anyway, it's not their decision. So this is a very, very powerful statement from Mark Pittman, but this is a really powerful statement about not sitting this out. If your clients are hurting, if your programs are being impacted, this is an opportunity for you to invite your donors to come in and support you. If you don't ask, you're guaranteed to not raise money. And I really feel like, and this is one of the things that I'm most excited about, is you know, now truly is the moment for loving on your donors and deepening your relationships with your donors. This is one of the new books that I have on my desk right now from the late and great John Hayden. Donor love truly is more important than ever before. And you have an opportunity, my fundraising friends, that you have never had ever. I mean, it's like the whole world is frozen, and you have an opportunity. Your donors are home. Your donors, you have an opportunity to get through to your donors and communicate with your donors in a way that you may have never had before. And this is something that your donors will remember. This is something that your donors will appreciate you for. And you have that opportunity. It's really up to you to take advantage of that and pick up the phone and communicate with your donors. I'm going to show you some really neat tools to help you and make this easier, but it's really as simple as this tool right here. So I love this quote from Russell James, who is a guru around planned giving. Crisis is the time to show support. It's the defining moment that identifies a friendship or relationship rather than a transactional relationship. So all of that fundraising that may have been happening, that may have been very transactional and not relational, this is an opportunity for you to really build a relationship with those donors like you never have before. So I want you to take care of yourself, of course, first and foremost. Of course, we're canceling events, we're turning events virtual, we're postponing events. But if this is impacting your clients, share it with your donors so they can help. Don't make the decision for your donors. Do not rob your donors of a giving opportunity. Share how this is impacting your clients. Ask for the urgent help that you need. Put a pop-up window on your homepage, a homepage hijack that speaks directly to the impact and invites your donors to give. If you are not impacted, you still have to acknowledge the elephant in the room. This was the crisis before COVID-19. So if you are an environmental organization or another organization that is not impacted by this crisis, you still need to acknowledge it. If you do not do that, you're going to sound completely tone deaf. So it's very important that we all acknowledge the elephant in the room in our communications. It's important that we be fluid, that we be flexible. You have an opportunity to connect with your donors right now, but you may also need to use more messages to get through or more of a sense of urgency in order to be able to get through. So I love this tweet that I saw recently from Stephen Screen, and I'm going to be sharing a resource that Stephen Screen is doing. He basically, on Fridays, you can submit your fundraising appeal and he will give you a live critique of your fundraising appeal. So I'm going to show you the URL for that in just a minute. But he shared organizations, this was a tweet that he shared, and I was like, that's really genius. Organizations that are comfortable with vulnerability right now are raising more. The current crisis will teach the skill of being vulnerable. Some orgs will not learn the lesson even now. And so when I say being vulnerable, what I'm talking about really first and foremost is you deepening that relationship with your donor, you picking up the phone and deepening that relationship that you have with your donors. Vulnerability is a strength, it's not a weakness, and it is our greatest measure of courage. So the biggest fail that I'm seeing is people who aren't connecting. This is a chance for you to deepen those relationships with your donors. This is a chance for you to connect with your donors. This is a chance for you to call on your donors, check on your donors. How are they doing? I mean, this is the moment to do it. You have an opportunity you've never had before, and you need to be human, and you need to be real, and you need to acknowledge the elephant in the room, and you need to be helpful to them and seek out a meaningful connection. This is the time. This is the moment. So I'm going to give you some tips and some strategies and lots of examples and also some tools. Again, type in your questions anytime. I'm going to go through your questions. We've got time at the end to go through your questions. And the first thing that I want you to do right now, on top of taking care of yourself and taking a deep breath, is make sure that you have revisited every piece of automated or planned communications that could go out for your organization. That includes your email thank you autoresponders. That includes some email campaign that maybe you have scheduled that you forgot about. I want to make sure you've done that, and I'm going to show you an example in 1 second of why that's so important. And I also want you to call and check on your donors, and we're going to talk about that. I'm going to give you some scripts. And I've said this before, I don't want you, if you are being impacted, I don't want you to stop fundraising. So this is an example of Ole Miss, who last week had an email campaign that went out encouraging people to name them in their will or estate. So this felt a little tone deaf to their audience, and they got a lot of negative feedback. So I want to encourage you, whether it even in your email thank you autoresponder, you need to be thanking your donors in this time of stress and overwhelm and fear and uncertainty. You need to be thanking your donors for taking the time to give to you. You need to be thanking your donors for being so generous that in this time that they're thinking about others and how they can help others. You need to acknowledge the elephant in the room. This is important. You're going to sound tone deaf. You're going to sound insensitive. You're going to sound like what's important about acknowledging the elephant in the room is that you're telling me you're telling me you get me. You're telling me you understand. You know what it's like. You're here with me now. It makes me feel less alone, less isolated. It lets me know that we're all in this together. So I want you to communicate with empathy. This is not business as usual. Don't pretend things are normal. They're anything but normal. And show me that you get me. I mean, show me you're a working parent too. You're trying to do your job and do it while you've got 2 kids at home. I'm trying to work while I have twins at home who are, I'm going to say distance learning. To say that I'm homeschooling my kids, it's a complete exaggeration. It's a complete exaggeration. But this is a new reality. You know, I work from home and I've been working from home for years, but for many of your donors, this may be completely new to them. So don't pretend that things are normal. Show that you get me. We can just call our donors. I want to do this first. After you've made sure all your communications are in order, just call your donors, start calling on your donors and thanking your donors and just telling your donors, I'm thinking about you. How are you? It's really that simple. I'm thinking about you. How are you? I'm calling to check on you. Is there anything I can do for you? Maybe you have some senior donors. Maybe they need some help with how they can order groceries online. You can just thank them for being a donor. You need to know their giving history before you make these calls, and you need to be ready to answer questions that they have. They might be asking you, how are you doing? They might be asking you, what are your biggest needs? They might be asking you, what are you seeing now in terms of your programs and services, and where are you anticipating a shortfall, or how are you going to deal with that? So know that they may ask you those questions. I have a lot of people that say, well, what should I be communicating? So empathy, acknowledge the elephant in the room, show that you care, show that you get them. This is the mix of ask, of updates, of stewardship. I'm going to show you lots of different examples, simple, helpful, useful things. you can call them. You can just start, this is your chance to call all of your donors and just thank your donors. Email them. I would say at least a couple times a week. Can you mail them? Absolutely. I mean, assuming you can. In some areas, you may not be able to do direct mail anymore. It may be shut down as non-essential, but for many of you, you can. You can do a webinar, you could do a Facebook Live, you could do a town hall, but you shouldn't stop communicating with your donors. I'm going to give you some examples of appeals. What makes an appeal strong is a sense of urgency, writing in the first person. This is the most important letter I've ever written. Descriptive details, consequences of what happens if the money isn't raised, and letting them know how their gift is going to make an impact. So I've got some examples that I'm going to show you of some appeals a little bit later. I mentioned this earlier. You can visit worklessraisemore.com/appeals and newsletters. Stephen Screen does a live session every Friday where you can submit your appeal, and he will give you feedback. If your appeal is selected, he will give you actual live feedback. So I want to make sure I had someone yesterday who sent me their fundraising appeal, and I was like, you should sign up for this and you should do this. It's absolutely free. So you can do that. We sadly cannot play, this is voice over IP, so it doesn't really work so well with playing videos in GoToWebinar, but I have that bit.ly link up here, and I really encourage you to go and watch this video. This is fantastic. And this is the Royal National Lifeboat Institute. They are in the UK. I believe that they're the third largest charity in the UK. I could have that wrong. I'm sure they're in the top 5. So just like here in the US, we have volunteer firefighters. This is volunteer lifeboat rescue crews. Makes complete sense. They're a seafaring nation. And this is an amazing video. It will totally warm your heart. And this is one of their volunteers. And he's just saying, I'm thinking about you and I want to know that you're okay. And he talks about the work and what they do going out and saving people. It's beautiful, it's heartwarming. It is not a fancy production. He's literally in front of the camera, and it looks like they shot the rest of this with some footage that they already had on hand of the lifeboat crews going out into the waters. But this is a beautiful, simple, short, sweet, beautiful video just saying, I see you, I'm thinking about you, I care about you, I hope you're doing okay. It's beautiful, it's heartfelt, it's absolutely fantastic. And it acknowledges you're probably feeling uncertain about the future too. That shows me that you get me. Don't ignore the elephant in the room, acknowledge the elephant in the room, acknowledge how your donor might be feeling. This is beautiful, moving me to tears. So I have a couple of college examples from my friend Lynn Wester, who is amazing and incredible, and she works, her clients are mostly higher ed. And this is an amazing video. This is Dear Blazer Nation, and this really, really speaks to college seniors and how they're feeling about the uncertainty, but it's a beautiful tribute to, I get you, I see you, don't forget everything that we taught you, don't forget all of your amazing experiences here, and when this is all over, we're waiting for you, and you're gonna come back. When this is all over, this is always gonna be your home. It is beautiful. Get the Kleenex, you're gonna cry, it's gorgeous. This is another one that, another example I got from Lynn. She's got some great resources on her site, and the link is down there, the URL is right there. This was done, I believe, by a student at the University of South Carolina, and this is a really kind of a tribute to that same kind of emotion of, we were gonna walk the stage, we were gonna have these experiences, but I'm never gonna forget this, and this. I'm not, and it's kind of like he's doing the final walk, but he's reliving all the amazing memories that he had along the way. So, for you, I mean, whether you're Boys and Girls Club, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, think of the sights and the sounds and all of the things that your constituents and your clients relate to, and think how you can emotionally connect with your donors. I mentioned I was going to share some tools to make it easy for you guys. I'm a really big fan of video email. I love video email. This is a tool called BombBomb Video Email, and this is a really neat tool. They are actually doing free accounts right now for teachers, completely free accounts for teachers. They do have a nonprofit rate. So of all the tools that I'm going to share with you, this is the most expensive one. I think it's $470 for a year. But what they will brand your stationery for you, and I'm going to show you a few more examples of what this looks like a little bit later with some sample videos. But you can, if you have no budget and you want to send video, you can use Loom, L-O-O-M. That's a tool that you can use to send video, to do screen share. There's some cool features that BombBomb has, but this is a really neat tool to make it easy to communicate with your donors. I love using video email. You can shoot it directly from your Gmail account, your Outlook account. If you use BombBomb Video Email, they make you branded email stationery, kind of like you send in your newsletter, and you can also use that. One of the neat features of using video email is you are notified. If you set your settings, you will be notified if your donors opened your email. So I'm going to show you guys some sample appeals, and I want to invite you to just have another poll just to check in with you guys and kind of see where you're at as an organization. So I want to know, I've got like 5 different options here. The first option is that you have sent one update, just an update, right? Not an appeal, but an update. 2 is I've sent one appeal, and it could be an email appeal or a direct mail appeal where you've talked about how the crisis is impacting beneficiaries and asking for donations to help. So, you know, in this, you've acknowledged the elephant in the room, whether it was an update or an appeal. 3 is I've sent multiple updates only, I haven't asked. And 4 is I've sent multiple updates and appeals. And 5 is, of course, I haven't done anything yet. So I'm curious to hear from you guys. Type in, take our poll, and let us know where you're at. I'm gonna let.
All right.
Woohoo! How are we doing?
So right around 30% of people, which is the largest group, say that they have sent one update about how they're adjusting and thanking their donors. We've got around 22% who have sent multiple updates but haven't sent any asks in those. 20% have sent multiple updates and appeals. There's a solid group of people, 18%, who haven't done anything yet. So we've got a pretty split group, but it looks like the largest group, around 30%, have sent one update about how they're adjusting. So that's an interesting spread. I'm glad that you guys chimed in. That's a great insight.
And I just want to say, I am seeing some awesome questions and I cannot wait to answer them. They are fantastic. Don't be shy. If you have any questions, please type them in. So this is an example that I wanted to share with you. And this is an example of addressing this crisis, even though the organization is not, you know, it isn't impacting their work. You know, this is, you know, so maybe you're an environmental organization, or, you know, there are nonprofit organizations who may not, you're not working on the front lines. Your clients aren't impacted. You're not a food bank. You know, your clients are not impacted by this, but it doesn't mean that your mission isn't important. And it doesn't mean that your donors don't care, but it is important that you acknowledge the elephant in the room. You know, your work may be as urgent as it was a month ago, but if you send me an appeal and you don't do anything to mention and acknowledge that this is happening, I'm going to feel like, where are we? I mean, I already feel like, where are we? Many of us are like, what day is it? Is it a weekend? Is it a weekday? That's totally normal to feel that way. But it's important that you acknowledge this. So I like this. The truth is, we had important work planned before any of us knew the extent of that, and this work must continue. These are some emergency appeals. So I've put links in here to where you can see This is a webinar that Sean Triner did for Bloomerang. So one of the things I really want to point out here, the first person. This is one of the most important letters I have ever written. This is the most important letter I have ever written. When I wrote to you, blah, blah, so like first person is more powerful than using we here. So use first person. These are some examples of some emergency appeals. Bloomerang, I mean, many, I'm sure QGIF has a COVID-19 page. You can access lots of these resources here. COVID-19 is here, and so is kitten season. So, I mean, kitten season isn't going to stop because of this virus. These kittens are still going to need help. All of the animals will, but this again, first person. I'm going to level with you. So very, very, very specific, acknowledging what's happening. Kitten season won't stop or slow down because of the virus, and hundreds of kittens desperately need your help. So this is an example, and I mentioned Stephen earlier, and I mentioned that, and I put a screenshot. Every Friday he does this program where people can send in their appeals, and he gives feedback. I'm sure that's going like through the roof right now. But this is an example of an appeal. So a few things around this appeal. This is giving a specific example in descriptive details of how this virus is hurting the beneficiaries of this organization. Angie waits tables at a local restaurant 37 hours per week. She was just cut back to 3 hours. How is she going to do this? She can't, but you can help her. So this is an emergency fund appeal. These are unexpected expenses. Putting an acute timely need in front of your donors is not slimy. That is the kind of fundraising your mom would be proud of. When you need to raise funds to solve problems that are not in your budget, and you're giving your donor an opportunity to help you do that, this is important. So like I said, these are desperate times. Knowing that I'm supported, like the friends like you, I've made the decision to start an emergency housing assisted funds to save mom and kids from homelessness. So this is an urgent need that they have that they're raising money for. So again, I mentioned this earlier. Stephen Screen does this every Friday, so that's tomorrow. So if you're listening to this live, I put the link in there that you can join for that. This is an example of a coronavirus specific things. And so I want every single one of you to edit your email autoresponder and edit your thank you letter. You need to tell, this is an opportunity to tell your donor the fact that you are thinking of others in a time that is so worrying and difficult says a lot about who you are. This is an opportunity to tell your donors what an amazing human being they are for thinking about others in a time that's so worrying and stressful for everyone, including them. So this is, you know, again, I've said this a few times. I want you to acknowledge the elephant in the room, whether it's your email autoresponder, your thank you letter. I want you to acknowledge this is an opportunity for you to remind them, you know, what an amazing human being they are that they're giving now. I have a thank you of a sample of a video email. You can visit it there and set it up. This is an example. So in this particular example, if you go to that link and you play the video, and you need to capitalize the S and capitalize the V and capitalize the T, Bitly is like that. But in this, I made this. I love BombBomb. So I use these chalkboards here, and when I'm sending someone a video email, I put their name in it, and it's really irresistible. They see your name and you're like, what's this? And it also shows up at this as this animated GIF. Again, that tool is BombBomb video email. But I made a sample thank you video email where I just say how grateful we are for your gift. It means so much to us in a time of such fear and uncertainty that you are thinking about others. And I also put a link in the thank you to my calendar. So I love to hear how you are. I want to check in on you. If you've got, 15 minutes, just grab a time that you're available to talk. I'm always here for you. I'm always thinking about you. So that's just an example. So I'm going to show you some more update and stewardship examples. I've shown you some appeal examples already. If you haven't seen Wellington yet, this is adorable. I mean, and I love this, you know, the animals at Shed Aquarium got to go on a field trip, and they got to go around the aquarium and meet the other animals and see the other animals. And so this is really neat. So this is an example of some stewardship and continuing to communicate, you know, communicating things that are relevant, things that are entertaining, things that might be helpful. This is a behind the scenes slice of life for an aquarium that this is totally unique. I mean, and how fun is it to watch this penguin walking around the aquarium, getting to check out the stingrays and the other animals, and then there's this adorable porcupine who got to visit the penguin habitat. So I love that. I love this video from Alvin Ailey Dance Theater. I watch this almost every day. It's so beautiful. It's the, you know, the show must go on, right? And this is a beautiful video of the dancers in their backyard with their dogs, and in all the places that we are right now, you know, warming up, and they're all doing Revelations, which is the dance that they do at the very end. And when they're doing their performance, it's amazing, it's incredible. I could watch it all day. So, but this is a beautiful, you know, it's communications like this that we don't feel, we don't feel like we are alone, and we're seeing other people. And this is the Colorado Symphony performing Ode to Joy. So these kinds of things really create a sense of community. This is a really good, like, stewardship examples. We're all connected, and some of the beauty and some, so I just shared several examples of arts organizations. I'm going to show you some tools to make it easy, and then I'm going to pop in and answer your questions. I see that there are some really great ones. This is a video email. I mentioned this before. The Boy Scouts Blue Mountain Council rescheduled an event. They postponed and rescheduled an event for the fall. They sent a video email in their Boy Scout uniform explaining to their donors what was happening. Got really great praise. You can actually watch this here. You can watch this fantastic video of my friend Julie Edwards with sweet potato pie, this dog. And, you know, not everyone, I did a training for AFP Icon Virtual, and someone said, well, I don't have a puppy. Okay, it's okay. I mean, we're not all animal care organization. This was shot completely before this crisis happened, but this isn't just a unscripted thanks that she's sending thanking a donor. And of course, there's a cute puppy, and I share this because I think we could all use a cute puppy right now. So we're really grateful that we were able to adopt and have a cute puppy in our dog. He's a dog. He's two in our lives right now. But you can watch it there. I love using this tool. This is what it looks like in an email. They brand it. It's bombbomb.com is the tool. They're doing free accounts for teachers right now. They will brand email stationery consistent with your logo. I love putting the person's name and it's a really neat tool that you can use to stand out with your donors. I'm going to show you two more tools, and then I'm going to show you, answer your questions. This is what happens after if you use video email. That's the URL, bombbomb.com. What happens is you can check, you can set it so that you know if they opened your email or not. So you can set the email when you send the email to notify you when they open the email, to notify you when they play the video, to notify you when they click a link, and then you know if your message is getting through, which I really like doing. No one knows that you know this or not, but I like knowing if my message is getting through. Personally, I really like knowing, and not in that creepy 1980 Microsoft Outlook kind of way. I love this tool as well. This is the Felt app, and what this does is it allows you to send a card from your phone that is a real card with a stamp that someone gets in the mail. I found out about this company watching Shark Tank with my kids, which I love to do, and you just enter, it's an app, so you can use your finger, you can use a stylus, you make your card. This is an example of a card that I made. I did a board retreat for an organization, and I made a card and mailed it, and they take care of all the printing for you. This is extremely inexpensive. They have a free trial, plus it's literally only like $6 a month to send 3 cards. You give it permission to access the photo stream on your phone, and it can also access your Instagram feed, your Facebook feed if you give it permission to. It's a neat tool. These are some examples. They will make you stationery with your logo if you want for a little bit more. I think that one might be like $15 a month. Really neat tool, very affordable. You know, you're working from home, you don't have a box of cards to send to your donors, and maybe you have a photo of a hard hat tour that you and your donor did of your organization. You want to send them a note, let them know you're thinking about them. This is a neat tool that you could use. This is my last tool, and then I'm going to answer all of your awesome questions. There's some really good ones. This is Textology, and what this is a tool that allows you to send text messages to your donors, and I think this is a really neat tool. Of course, you can just send text right now if you on your phone, of course. Yes, you can do that. What's cool about this tool is that it allows you to do all of it from your desktop. So I'm gonna scroll over here and show you this. You can do this from your desktop. You can import a list of your donors' phone numbers, and it'll tell you what's a mobile phone and what's a landline. And then you can send, this is one-off messages. This isn't a message that you're sending in mass. This is literally one-off messages. They do not get an auto response back that says, you've been subscribed to the blah, 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 hit stop. They don't get that because this is literally like one-off messages. You can have a free 30-day trial to use this. I found out about this tool. I thought it was cool. I picked up the phone, called the company. The CEO answered the phone. His name's Justin Barry. He's really nice. And I said, I think this is a really neat tool for fundraisers to use. And he said, I will give anyone a 30-day trial. I don't work for BombBomb. I don't work for Textology. I don't work for the Feld app. I work for myself as a fundraising consultant. But these are all tools that I use, and I think these are really neat tools that you can use to virtually connect with your donors. What's neat about texting is that texting rates on average, we have 98% open rates. So odds are very good that your donor will indeed open it. These are some examples. Justin made these for me. I said, hey, I'm going to send you some photos. And he said, great, send me like 1 sentence, maybe 2 sentences. This is kind of like you have enough length here, and in text, this isn't a lengthy text. This is like a kind of like a Twitter handle of a character limit. But this is a really neat way to let your donors know that you're thinking about them. And this is one more channel that you can use to communicate with your donors. And don't be shy, because this is the time to communicate. Okay, so I have lots of questions that came in, and I'm going to start digging in and answering these. And I'm going to put my contact information up here while I'm answering these. And this is a great book. If you haven't read this already, I really love this book. This is How to Turn Your Words into Money by Jeff Brooks. So if appeals and appeal writing, I'm getting lots of questions about appeals nowadays. If that's something that you want to enhance your skills around, this is a really good book that really makes it relatable by Jeff Brooks again. So I'm going to leave my contact information up here. We're going to send you the slides. We're going to send you the recording. You can download the slides, rachelmuir.com/handouts. And I'm going to dig in to these awesome questions. So I love this question from Megan. I was like, I am answering Megan's question first. I know we should also communicate with our loyal donors, but is it a faux pas to reach out to newbies? No, it is not a faux pas to call and thank a donor. It is a great thing if you reach out to new donors and tell them how much you appreciate them and what how grateful you are that they are giving to you now in a time of such overwhelm. What an amazing person they are. This is brilliant. I mean, I would encourage you before this crisis, I would have encouraged you to reach out to your new donors. It is the biggest guaranteed way, Megan, that they are going to give more with their next gift and stay loyal to you. So no, it is no, God, calling and thanking a donor, not a faux pas, period. Jacqueline asks, as a recently hired major gift officer, what can you offer if you don't have strong relationships with your donors currently? Jacqueline, now is your time. Now is your time. You can send those donors an email. You can send those donors a video email. You can send those donors a letter. You can do all three of those things. And you can say, I'm new here and it is my job to get to know our loyal donors who make our incredible work possible. I would love nothing more than getting to know you, what inspired you to become part of our donor family and what's important to you. Here's a link to my calendar. Let's chat. Or I'm going to be calling you in the next couple of days. I can't wait to get to know you. This is the time. I want to, my goal, my number one goal for every single one of you is that this time that you spent with me and Abby has made you feel more emboldened and more inspired and more confident about picking this thing up and actually communicating with your donors, because you're going to reach them and odds are good. And this is the time to let them know that you care. And this is the time to let them know how much you appreciate you. Okay, so Jacqueline asks, usually we ask, and I'm going to try to, I'm trying to like, no, I'm going to move over here so I know which ones I've, maybe you want to strike through the ones I've answered or something, Abby. Okay, Christina said, would you increase the frequency of your appeals during this time? Yes, I would. If you are fundraising and you are being impacted and this is an opportunity for crisis appeals, emergency appeals, this is an opportunity. I mean, the world just changed so much. I was on a call recently with someone and they had written, you know, basically like a fundraising appeal for their hairdresser. And I was having this conversation with one of my favorite executive directors, and she said, we're all in fundraising now, even if we don't work for a nonprofit organization. And she was helping her hairdresser who's 7 months pregnant and isn't going to be able to work, with sending an email out to her clients, encouraging them to buy a gift card with her for their next appointment, or buy a gift card with her to give their friend an appointment. So yeah, absolutely. So let's see here. Morgan asks, as an agency that has both financial and tangible item needs, would it be better to provide donors to give to us the things we need instead of just asking for money, or is that not a concern? I mean, this is, I would say you need, what do you need more of? You know, my goal for you is to ask for what you need the most of. So if what you need more is donations, ask for donations. You could do one appeal. I wouldn't do an appeal where you ask for both, because you don't really want to have like one call to action, but you could do one appeal where you're asking for gifts. You could do another appeal a few days later where you're asking for donations. But I would ask for what you need. What is the most important number one thing that you need? I would lead with that. Okay, so someone anonymously said, can you give an example of being vulnerable? I feel like right now, for a lot of the fundraisers that I'm talking to, and even for a couple of these questions like Jacqueline's and Megan, I feel like for a lot of fundraisers, just picking up the phone and talking to a donor, I know this sounds crazy, because fundraising is about building relationships. Building relationships is inherent in what fundraising is, but I feel like the place where people are feeling vulnerable is that they're afraid to just pick up the phone and call their donor and check in on their donor and hear how their donor's doing. And I feel like organizations that aren't afraid to do that, and that aren't afraid to talk and make calls all day to all their donors and keep making calls and go through and call, make sure they get all the donors called in their list, those are the organizations that are willing to connect with people and meet them where they are and have, you know, authentic conversations with them. Those are the organizations that are going to see success right now, and those are the organizations that are going to be cherished by their donors, and those donors won't forget that that organization reached out to them. So that is what I mean by being vulnerable, just really being human and being yourself. And I'm surprised how many fundraisers ask me questions like, so I should really just pick up the phone and call my donor and thank them? Yeah, this is a really good idea to do that now. Okay, Bruce asked, any sense of whether it's better to wait? This is a great question. Bruce asked, is there any sense of if it's better to wait until after the peak of COVID-19 to send out hard mail appeals? And I think he means like direct mail appeals. I would not wait until the peak. I would send out your appeal now. I don't, you know, you should be communicating with your donors. You should be sending them a combination of checking in on them, sending them stewardship pieces, sending them updates, yes, sending them appeals. If you're being impacted by this and your donors can help you and help your clients, your donors love you, they give to you for a reason. So I wouldn't wait, because any fundraising you don't do now is fundraising those you can't recover from later. So I wouldn't wait. I don't see the benefit of waiting. If you need help now, I don't see the benefit of waiting. Stephanie asked, our organization's fundraising is heavily grant-based, and I'm concerned about creating a safety net should the funding we are counting on be reallocated. My director does not seem to share that concern. Any suggestions on navigating that? You know, I would find out what's going to happen. I would try to find out right now if, I mean, you're smart to be prepared and you're wise to be concerned. And I would try to get a handle on if you do have stability, because you want to be fundraising for what you know is a need. And I think that right now, if you have, I mean, helping people who are directly impacted, helping people, if you can show an immediate need, I think that is going to be have the most impact. I hope that is helpful. So these are interesting questions. Okay, I love this. My arts organizations. And I had one more arts example, but I cut a few things out because I was like, see, we're only 2 minutes over. I was worried that I had an obscene amount of slides, like 70 slides. Some of the most beautiful and uplifting things that I'm seeing is from arts organizations, but I always hear arts organizations saying things like, well, we're just an arts organization. Wow, don't sell yourself short, because your donors love you. And it is so uplifting. I mean, when we want beauty, when we want reassurance, I literally watch that Alvin Ailey video almost every day, and I can't wait to go back and see Alvin Ailey again someday. I can't wait. I look forward to it so much. And, you know, so art brings people so much beauty, and don't sell yourself short right now as an arts organization. I am seeing so many great examples. Your donors loved you before, they love you now. You're giving them an opportunity to feel great. You're giving them an opportunity to make the world a better place. We have the best jobs in the whole world as fundraisers, because we get to make the world a better place. Look, not everybody is so noble, but you are, and you get to be out there making the world a better place, and you get to bring people opportunities to make the world a better place. And at a time when people feel stressed and uncertain and want to help, give them the opportunity to help you. You're not, they're adults, and if they can't give, they won't, but they're adults. Let them make the decision. Don't make the decision for them. So Robert said, I think this is a good time to telemarket our donors because people are spending more time at home. Do you agree? You can absolutely do a phone ask. Absolutely. Your odds are good of getting your donor on the phone. Absolutely. Phone ask, direct mail ask, email ask, absolutely. Randall asks, is it normal practice to send nonprofits our foundation has funded the same emails asking for donations? I'm not sure I understand that question. I'm not sure I understand the question. It sounds like what maybe.
If it helps, Randall works with, it sounds like an organization that has done, he works with a family foundation. So I think the question is, like, how do you communicate with nonprofits that you have funded in the past? And I know he's had some other questions about just operating as a foundation right now? Do you try to reach out to donors? How do you reach out to your nonprofits that you're funding if you're a foundation? Like, how would you suggest foundations handle all of this?
Well, if you're a foundation, every nonprofit would love to have a conversation with you, and they would love to send an appeal to you, and they would love to have your support. And so I would reach out to your, I mean, I'm sure you're probably flooded. I would be shocked if you aren't flooded from organizations that are reaching out to you. But you may not be. I mean, I'm not getting a ton of fundraising appeals. I did recently get a phone call, thanks, and it warmed my heart so much. But I would say to Randall, reach out to the charities that you fund, let them know you're thinking about them. They're going to tell you exactly what you can do to help. It sounds like Randall may be curious about maybe even, maybe I'll let
I think he's curious about like appealing to the nonprofits, either for support or to like join forces. Or he just clarified, can I send appeals to our nonprofit partners?
So Randall is from a private family foundation, and he wants to ask his nonprofit partners to donate to the foundation?
I think so.
I've never been asked that question ever. That's an interesting one.
This might be helpful. So my husband works for a community foundation, and they have a number of nonprofits that have accounts with them. So say my organization that I work with has a fund with this organization. Would it be appropriate to ask them to put money into the fund? Right now, I would say no, mostly because they are in a hard spot as well, and I don't know that they have money to give to other nonprofits. I know now is a great time to reach out to other people maybe connected with the family foundation, but I wouldn't necessarily reach out to nonprofits and ask them to give back to your organization.
Thank you, Abby. You're so awesome. That's so handy that you have that insider perspective as well. I love that. Jacqueline asks, usually we ask a monthly donor why they stopped giving. We have a woman who just canceled her monthly payment. Should I respond? I would just say we're so grateful to you, and we want you to know we understand this is, I would respond and just say, hey, I want you to know how much we adore you, and we understand that you have, you know, ended your monthly gift to us. I want to check in. I want to make sure you're okay. And I just want to thank you for everything that you've done. And I just want you to know that we're thinking about you. And if there's anything that we can do to support you, that's all I would say. I wouldn't like try to win her back. I would just let her know how grateful you are. If you were going to call her, that's what I would say. So there's a couple good questions about the videos from Christina and from Marjorie. So Marjorie asked, are there asks in the videos that you shared? The ones that I showed you, the one that I gave you the link to, were stewardship pieces. So I want you to do a combination of stewardship and ask. And Christina asks, is there a good length? I would say 60 seconds is a good length in general for the videos. This is about being real and being human. I love using video email. True confession, I'm a terrible typist. I specifically threw typing in school because I wanted to have my own business when I grew up, and I felt like if I was really good at typing, I was going to be stuck like as a secretary and never like be able to be a CEO. So I'm not a great typist. So I can save a lot of time using video email. And I love that about it. You can do an ask in a video email, and I believe that they recently rolled out like a donate button. You absolutely can do that. So yeah, that you can do that. But the examples that I share are stewardship. And someone said, should people focus on acquiring new donors, or should they focus more on reaching out to their existing donor base? Reaching out to your existing donor base, absolutely. Reaching out to your existing donor base. This acquisition is a long game, and convincing people who have, I would focus on the donors that you have, thanking the donors that you have, and fundraising with the donors that you have right now, today, as of April 2nd. Diane said, our CEO thinks it's insensitive to contact major donors right now. I disagree. Any suggestions? I'm with you, Diane. I am with you. Contacting major donors. I mean, I'm encouraging you to be human and be warm and be relevant and deepen relationships with your donors. What I'd like to see you do is pick up the phone with your donors and thank your donors and appreciate your donors and check in on your donors and let your donors know that you're thinking about them. This is something that this is a unique time. We've never gone through this before. This is a time to deepen and build a relationship. And being an ostrich with your head stuck in the sand, trying to pretend like it's not happening is certainly a normal way for many people to behave, but it's not a way that's going to deepen relationships with your donors. Larry asks, I'm curious if webinar participants are allowed to do communications or appeals without senior staff or board approval. That is a really good question, and I invite people to type in. That's a pretty bold statement from Mark Pittman. And what I have seen right now, a lot of organizations where they're having more frequent meetings with leadership, but I always say one thing, on a good day, on a bad day, any day, let the fundraisers be fundraisers. That's what I say, and I mean it. I absolutely mean it 100%. A lot of times board members make the mistake of, well, I wouldn't like that, so we shouldn't do that. And just because you like or don't like one thing doesn't mean everyone else does. So I say let the fundraisers be fundraisers. I hope that people aren't having their fundraising efforts be completely hampered. That's going to be a challenge if you are, and it's going to be one that it's going to be difficult for your organization to recover from. Cassie asked, should we wait? Oh, should we wait? Cassie asked, should we wait to ask until those relief checks come in? If you have clients who are being impacted and your donors can help, and your donors can help your beneficiaries, then you should ask them to do so. I don't think there is benefit in waiting. That's more fundraising that you have not done. Carmen asked, our nonprofit will be the second wave of responders of this crisis. How can we acknowledge that in an appeal? Tell them, I gave you some examples of using first person. You need to let them know why their gift is needed now. You saw the example from Stephen's screen, the descriptive details about this woman's life. He took me right to the action. She's this years old. She works this job. These are her struggles. Make it real, make it descriptive, put me in the middle of action, make me feel like I'm there. How often can you send emergency appeals? I mean, you should be communicating with your donors. You should be calling all your donors and thanking your donors. I would send a combination of emails. You could do email and you could do direct mail. You could be sending an appeal a week. You could send it via email and via direct mail. You could send that, I would say you could send an emergency appeal twice in 1 week. Jenny said, if you can't do your mission the way you normally do, should you raise the money for when you can return to your normal work, or should you find new solutions? That is a really interesting question. I think that one of the silver linings of all of this is the innovation that we're seeing. Organizations being really innovative in how they deliver their programs, organizations being really innovative and taking bold risk in how they communicate and being really nimble. And I think this is one of the most positive things and I think Abby would say, yes, she feels the same way, is a lot of the innovation. So I encourage you to experiment with innovation, and I encourage you to experiment with what you can do to deliver your programs in the most effective way. And your donors want you to be there when this is all over. And so, so asking your, so I would say, these are all important things that you should think about. Someone asked, what do you think about messaging? Are women understanding what you're going through if you've lost your job or have had to close your business during this time? I'm not sure what that question means exactly, Sela. I mean, maybe what she's asking is trying to communicate specifically with your segment of understanding where they're coming from. I'm not sure I understand the question. I'll focus on answering questions that I totally understand, so I don't confuse anybody. But Sela, you're welcome to type in and help me understand it better. Jessica said, how can you cut through the clutter? I love this question. There's so many communications right now. I'm worried these emails won't be read. That's one of the reasons why I love video email, because it really does stand out, and you know if your message is getting through because you can set it to tell you if they watched the video or if they opened the email. So that's one of the reasons why I love video email. That's another reason why I also really like Textology. That's why I gave you those tools, the Felt app, the Textology, as well as video email, so that you can communicate in innovative ways and know if your message is getting through. Textology, you know, you'll get a text back if a donor gets your message. So, but that's one of the reasons why I like video email so much, because I like knowing if my message is getting through or not. So Randall said, I received notice from our software vendor that we use Google and other entities are monitoring and possibly diminishing emails or content that has COVID-19 included in appeals or fundraising. Has anyone heard the same? I'll let other people chime in. Like maybe that, I know that like you can't, like some of J Love from Bloomerang told me recently that you can't buy AdWords with COVID in it. But I guess what Randall is worried about is if I use COVID-19 in a subject line for a fundraising appeal, if maybe it won't go through. I have a tool for that, by the way, that I love, that I use a lot, and it's called subjectline.com. And should have put that in there, but subjectline.com is a really neat tool that I like to use, and it'll test your subject lines, and it'll test for, is it mobile optimized? Does it have any word in it that's going to trigger in a spam filter? It'll give it like a rating. So that's a really neat tool that you can use, subjectline.com. It's totally free, completely free. Rebecca said, I sent an appeal last week. Now I want to update those donors about what we're doing. Should I send another mass email? How do I best let people know what we're doing? I don't want to overload people with MailChimp letters. So here's the good news, Rebecca. We're all stuck at home. And, you know, don't be shy. This is a time to communicate. So I would say, you know, and this is also a time where you might need to be a little bit more bolder, or you might need to like hit resend to people who didn't open it the first time. But I would, you know, this is, you know, a lot of times I get asked questions from nonprofit organizations about their communications, and they say stuff to me like this, like, well, you know, we don't email our list very often. So, you know, the good news, Rachel, is that our donors aren't sick of hearing from us. Well, I mean, that's not necessarily a good thing. You know, if you only communicate with your donors like once a month, then you know, doesn't help your deliverability in email. It doesn't keep you top of mind. Like, it's not a positive thing that you aren't communicating. So I would say communicate more frequently. Your communications need to be heartfelt. They need to be donor centered. You need to make your donors feel like the great people that they are. And you need to show that you know them, you know, like, I mean, I get a lot of emails from people who don't acknowledge COVID-19 at all, and it feels totally tone deaf. And it's very bizarre. It feels like I'm reading something from a different time. So let's see here. So Leslie said, we're a cultural institution. We were calling donors last week, and to be honest, many seem interested in talking. Do we keep going? I would like visit your script. Like, what did you say? Like, it can be short and sweet. You know, my name's Leslie. I'm here. I just want to thank you for supporting us and let you know how much you mean to us. Because of you, blank, you know, give them credit for something great that they made happen. I just want to know that I want you to know that I'm thinking about you, and I want to see how you're doing. If you're, you know, how you're weathering this, you know, how are you? I'm just calling to ask, how are you? I don't think that people would be, our number one most interesting thing that we like to talk about is ourselves. We are our own most fascinating topics of interest. So I don't think that they would be, I think it may be, you know, you want to ask them how they're doing. You know, it's a loaded question. Ask them how they're doing. Heidi asks, what's the difference between just filming on your cell phone? I'm trying to find the value add of programs like Loom and BombBomb. Loom is completely free. It is 100% free. It's kind of like a screen share program, so it could be a really neat tool that you could use like with a colleague to explain something and use a screen share on your computer. Yeah, you can just film something on your phone, absolutely. The benefit of using a tool like BombBomb is that you know, it's branded. You can do a free 2-week trial of BombBomb, by the way, free 2-week trial. So everyone can do that. It's BombBomb, BOMB.com. I do not work for BombBomb. But the biggest benefit is that you know if they got your message or not. Another tool that you can use is track.bananatag.com. And what that does is tell you if they opened your email, yes or no. You can do it. You can sign up for a free account and send up to 5 emails a day for free, or you can do a paid account. I like knowing if my messages are getting through. So Tiffany said a lot of our vendors are donors, but most are not in business right now. How do you communicate our need with them? You have to tell them. You have to tell them exactly what the need is and give them an opportunity to support you. I would say right now, you know, corporations are, you know, this is many corporations who are hit. This is going to be hard. So I would say just be aware of that, and individual giving is going to be something that that you might see more with as opposed to corporations, especially corporations that are badly hit. Related to that, Tyler asked, what's the best way to pitch large sponsorship opportunities during this difficult time? I'm assuming, Tyler, that you mean corporate sponsorships. You can type in yes or no. And my answer to you is with Tiffany, corporations, it's going to be, I mean, you know, Zoom is doing really well right now. But I know, you know, it's going to be harder with corporations right now if they're doing layoffs, if they're, you know, going out of business. So I think that large sponsorships, that's something that you're going to have to really visit and look at what is the opportunity here. Okay. Michelle works for a hospital foundation. She has a lot of healthcare workers in her donor portfolio, and she's thanking them for their service. But is it okay to ask them about donating to the employee COVID response that we have? So a lot of healthcare workers. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would say it's, let them, yeah, ask them. If they don't want to give, they're not going to give. But people who, I mean, they care. They wouldn't work in this field if they didn't care. And maybe there's something that you want to do to support them, especially to acknowledge them and thank them. And what are you doing to nurture those healthcare workers and to let them know what heroes they are? But I mean, I would say I would celebrate those my goal would be celebrating those healthcare workers for the heroes that they are. But you know, if they want to give, then they can give. You know, they're adults. We're all adults. If I don't want to give, I'm not going to. And I would say, you know, what it all comes down to. I've loved getting to be with you today. Thank you so much for having me, Abby. I want you guys to be brave and fearless. Your donors love you. Giving feels good. And I don't want you to shy away from giving donors opportunities to make the world a better place and to be important. And I hope that I've made you feel more confident, and I hope that I've made you feel braver and bolder in your fundraising. You are out there making the world a better place, and we're all grateful to you for your good works.
Rachel, that was amazing. Thank you for going through all of those questions, and thank you to everyone who submitted those questions. I have one that's real simple. Can you say the URL for the banana
Oh,
tag
yes.
thing?
It is track, like TRACK .bananatag.com. And you
Okay.
can send
I'm going to send that to everybody.
Yeah, you can send up to 5. So track.bananatag.com. You can send up to, before I had BombBomb, I had Banana Tag, and you can send up to 5 emails a day. You can track up to 5 emails a day for free. You can also schedule your emails if you want, if you're working really late and you don't want your donors to know that you're burning the midnight oil, although I feel like we're all working at such odd times because of everything, it doesn't really matter. But it'll let you send up to 5 a day for free. And it's really, I think it's like maybe $10 a month to sign up and have unlimited tracking. So that's not too bad, but I will say it does open up a can of productivity at your office. So you can't say, oh, I didn't get that email because they'll know if you got it or didn't get it. But it's a really neat tool to use, and you can send up to 5 a day for free.
That is so handy. I know there are a few questions that people are kind of getting at the last minute, and I know I'm trying to like walk the line between being respectful of everyone's time. Everybody, if you do have a question that hasn't been answered, or if you think of something, feel free to tweet at us, send us an email. We're here for you, and we want to make sure that you are as equipped and confident as possible.
There's one that I really want to jump in that Megan sent in. My boss,
Oh, yeah.
My boss wants to call our monthly donors and ask them if we need to pause their draft. I disagree. Please help. Megan, I agree with you. Do not call those donors and offer. Do not do that. That is a very, very bad decision. Look, I'm wearing my big girl pants. Abby's wearing her big girl pants. We are adults. I just became a monthly donor to an organization last week. If I want to stop my gift, I'm going to do it. I'm going to choose to do it on my own. I would not call them and offer that. I would not do that. That is not a good idea. Your instincts are right. I hear you loud and clear. Keep being an amazing fundraiser, Megan. Don't stop fundraising. And know that your instincts are right.
Yeah, that one, like I physically audibly said no when she sent it in. I was like, don't do that. Okay. Rachel, thank you so much. You've stuck with us for a half hour longer than you committed to, and I cannot phrase how much that means to me and how much I know it means to everyone on the call. Everyone, if you do have questions, email us or tweet at us or get a hold of us somehow. I will be in touch with you. You're going to get an email from me tomorrow with links to this webinar recording and to a bunch of other resources that will help you. Keep an eye out, and in the meantime, you're doing a great job. We love you, and your donors love you, and you can do it. I promise. All right, everybody, have a good Thursday. We will be in touch, and have a great week.